Over the past few years, Apple has repeatedly earned and then lost the role of the most valuable company in the world. The backbone of their company is the iPhone. Since its release in 2007, the iPhone has become ubiquitous with everyone from CEOs to teenagers. Apple has pulled off something that was long considered impossible in retail. They made a luxury product so essential that people all across the economic spectrum had to have it. But with most new iPhone models selling for around $1,000, how much is Apple's true cost of production? And how much are they pocketing themselves? Today we're exploring the true cost of an iPhone. The iPhone XS and iPhone XS Max start at $999 and $1,099 and go up to $1,349 and $1,449 respectively. They're anything but cheap, although there are plenty of ways to make those prices more tolerable. But how much does it cost Apple to manufacture them? The first bill of materials for the 256GB iPhone XS Max, priced at $1,249, says it cost Apple just $443 to manufacture this model. The most expensive iPhone XS Max component is the display, the teardown explains, which costs $80.50 compared to $77.27 for last year's iPhone X. Apple paid just over $3 more for the Samsung 6.5-inch display that goes into the XS Max than the 5.8-inch Samsung OLED screen inside the 2017 iPhone X. The biggest drivers of cost increases are the baseband, a larger OLED display, bigger battery, more memory, and a significant increase in the cost of non-electronic components, according to the report. The estimates are preliminary in nature, including some assumptions, and may change slightly, Tech Insights warns. To pull it off, Apple removed certain 3D touch parts in the display, Tech Insights says. All told, what they took out adds up to about $10, so this $80 estimate would have been about $90. Tech Insights' Al Kowski told Reuters they had a trade-off in cost. The phone's processor and modem were also more expensive. Flash memory was also more costly, but that's only logical considering that Tech Insights compared phones that have 256GB and 64GB of memory. It cost Apple less than $20 to upgrade the memory from 64GB to 256GB. Buyers will pay $150 to make the same jump on either iPhone XS or XS Max. The 512GB tier costs $200 more than the 256GB on either model. A Bloomberg article earlier this week said that Apple's most lucrative new iPhone feature is the flash upgrade. Bloomberg said the 512GB storage option could make the company $134 more per phone than the 256GB model. But that's hardly a surprise. Apple has been turning storage into a moneymaker from the first days of the iPhone. Others are doing the same thing, although Apple's prices are higher from the same Bloomberg estimate. Even so, the iPhone XS Max is already a massive success for Apple according to a recent sales estimate, with the 256GB version being the most popular of the three options. The 512GB model is the most likely to sell out, the same report showed, as Samsung is Apple's sole supplier of 512GB flash modules. As always, these estimates primarily relate to hardware components and assembly costs and do not include other variables that ultimately affect reported gross margin, such as marketing costs, warranty and return accruals, software development costs, and amortization of manufacturing infrastructure, among others. That said, the estimates suggest that the iPhone XS Max model in question carries an approximate hardware margin of 65%. All this is to say that Apple is taking home a hefty profit with every iPhone, and they really count on customers opting for expensive upgrades. But this should serve as no surprise. Apple is a for-profit company, and it's an accepted rule that products should retail for at least 3 times their production cost. Based on typical smartphone costs and usage patterns, kids currently turning 18 will end up spending a staggering $75,000 apiece on their phones over the course of their lives, according to a recent estimate by valuation company Flipsy. That figure is based on the average amount spent per year in the US on cell phones, and the average returns you'd make on that money if you invested it instead from age 18 to age 78 and upgraded every 32 months. That number is also in constant dollars. In other words, it's after accounting for inflation. Based on current average pricing, that puts your total expense at $12,474. Americans also spend approximately $88 a year on apps, and unlimited data plans typically cost around $80 a month. Put that money into an investment account and factor in long-term returns of about 4% a year after inflation, and you reach that $300,000. Of course, this math slightly oversimplifies and can be applied to any everyday expense. The main takeaway is that saving in small ways can add up if you invest your money wisely. But most consumers accept that iPhones aren't going away anytime soon. Apple has sold more than 1.5 billion units, and they sell an estimated 395 iPhones a second. To better understand the way they revolutionized the cell phone market, we need to look at the ingenuity of the late Apple CEO Steve Jobs. The history of the iPhone began with a request from Steve Jobs to his company's engineers asking them to investigate the use of touchscreen devices and tablet computers, which later came to fruition with the iPad. Before the iPhone, smartphones mostly copied the BlackBerry. After the iPhone, they all copied Apple. Most phones now have big screens, beautiful designs, and ever-improving cameras. They even have notches or cutouts at the top of their edge-to-edge displays where the phone's front-facing camera lives. And the iPhone effect goes far beyond smartphones. In order to make so many phones, Apple and its competitors set up huge supply chains all over the world. Jobs announced the iPhone on January 9, 2007, on stage at the Macworld conference. He spent nearly an hour explaining the device, extolling the virtues of everything from a touch interface to a huge desktop-sized version of the New York Times website that you could pan around. He even made a phone call and placed what has to be the largest Starbucks order in history to a real barista at a real Starbucks. The whole event stands as a remarkable piece of tech industry history, and you can still watch it all on YouTube. The phone didn't come out until 6 months after that initial reveal, during which time Apple frantically scrambled to turn Jobs' demo into a mass-market gadget. When it finally hit stores in June, people lined up outside stores to buy one. Apple sold 270,000 iPhones the first weekend it was available, hit 1 million by Labor Day, and instantly captured the imagination of phone owners everywhere. From there, the iPhone story is one of evolution, not revolution. Each year, Apple made the phone bigger and faster, refining the product without changing the basic form factor or its most beloved features. It became more popular every time. Jobs always said Apple had a 5-year lead with the first iPhone. That turned out to be conservative. It took 6 or 7 years for Samsung and others to make truly competitive phones like the Galaxy S and the HTC One. Then, after successfully copying the iPhone, they found their own niches. Many believe that without Steve Jobs at Apple's helm, the company is floundering without any new ideas. But Apple is also fighting to muscle into markets outside of hardware, such as cloud computing and digital content. It recently ordered more than $1 billion worth of new content. Consider their new iMac Pro. It's retailed at $4,999, which is an absolutely absurd amount to pay for most computers. But keep in mind that this is a device made for serious computing experts. To even begin to make use of the 18 cores that the Intel Xeon chip has to offer, the 128 gigabytes of high-end error-correcting ECC RAM, the 10 gigabit Ethernet, or the pro-grade Vega graphics processor, you're going to have very specific workloads and high-end, high-performance software. This is not the machine for someone who would like to have a lot of tabs open in Safari or who wants iMovie to go faster. The iMac Pro is aimed at professionals working with video, those into virtual reality, 3D modeling, simulations, animation, audio engineers, and similar pursuits. A series of iMac enthusiasts with a lot of free time and money recently built an iMac themselves, using parts that they bought wholesale. The results were surprising. The homemade iMac was only $313 cheaper than buying through Apple, even after hours of labor. That's right. This $5,000 computer is actually a pretty good deal given that you need the machine's insane specs. Also factor in that Macs are long-lived and well-supported by Apple. macOS High Sierra will run on MacBooks and iMacs going back to late 2009, and MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, Mac Mini and Mac Pro computers going back to 2010. So you're looking at getting 7 to 8 years from the system, 3 of which you could cover under AppleCare. So the per-year cost of that system is far cheaper than it seems initially. Compare this finally to the third pillar in Apple's hardware trinity, the iPad. IHS, a market researcher that tears down the latest devices to see what components they include and how much a device might cost the company to produce, revealed that the iPad Air 2 costs between $275 and $358 to build, depending on the version. At the low end is the 16GB with Wi-Fi only version, while the most expensive version offers 128GB with Wi-Fi and cellular. To put that into perspective, Apple charges $499 for the entry-level iPad Air 2. The 128GB with Wi-Fi and cellular option costs consumers $929. So depending on the model, Apple makes anywhere from 50% to more than 300% of the total price. You can understand the emphasis the company puts on the iPhone, as it is by far the biggest moneymaker. Regardless, users can count on Apple attempting new ventures as iPhones reach market saturation.